Japan has a specific relationship with inconvenience, where most of the world encounters a small, daily friction. The bag of chips you can't reseal properly, the noodle restaurant that makes eating alone feel like a social infraction, the car that slowly kills you by letting you fall asleep at the wheel, and quietly accepts it. Japan looks at it like it's a problem that needs solving, not eventually. Now, properly. What follows are 14 ideas that came from that impulse. They range from the quietly elegant to the genuinely jaw-dropping. Let's get into it. Number 14. Smart grocery baskets with auto-scanning. The checkout that does itself. The supermarket checkout queue is one of those experiences that has remained essentially unchanged for 50 years. You wait. You place items on a belt. A person or a machine scans each item. You pay. You leave. Every element of this process is accepted as fixed because no one had seriously questioned whether the scanning needed to happen at the end. Japan questioned the sequence. Retailers working with companies like Panasonic have tested baskets with built-in RFID readers. Each product carries a tag. As you shop, the basket quietly logs every item. By the time you reach the register, the work is already done. You place the basket on a terminal, confirm, and pay in seconds. No conveyor belt choreography, no stalled barcode scans, no slow accumulation of small delays. The transaction dissolves into the act of shopping itself. The technology is not novel. Radio frequency identification is widely used in logistics and inventory systems worldwide. What stands out is where it is applied. A grocery basket is not glamorous. It is not a flagship innovation space. Yet that is precisely the point. Japan's approach often targets the ordinary, removing inefficiencies where they are repeated millions of times daily. The result is subtle but cumulative. Time is saved not in dramatic leaps, but in the quiet elimination of friction from everyday life. Number 13. Anti-drowsiness. Car seat sensors. The seat that knows you're falling asleep before you do. Driver fatigue kills. Every country knows this. Most countries address it with signage. Tiredness kills. Take a break on a motorway board next to a coffee cup graphic, and then leave the rest to the driver. Japan decided signage was not sufficient and built the solution into the furniture. Japanese automotive engineers developed sensor arrays embedded directly into car seats that monitor the driver's physical state continuously. The sensors measure micro variations in posture, the slight forward lean, the small asymmetry in weight distribution, the fractional changes in sitting position that precede drowsiness by several minutes. They also track heart rate variability through contact sensors built into the seat fabric. Together, these signals create a real-time fatigue profile compared against the driver's baseline from the start of the journey. When the data indicates the driver is entering the pre-drowsy state, before the driver is consciously aware of it, the system responds. Depending on the model and manufacturer, responses include a vibration alert through the seat, adjusted climate control pushing cooler air toward the driver's face, audio alerts through the sound system, and in advanced implementations, a message on the dashboard recommending a rest stop with navigation automatically loaded. The critical distinction between Japan's approach and everywhere else's is the word before. The system does not wait for the driver to drift across a lane marker. It identifies the physiological signature of approaching drowsiness in the seat data and intervenes while the driver still has full capacity to respond. Drowsiness alerts triggered after impairment has begun are too late. Japan built the alert for before and embedded it in the object you are already sitting in. The seat watching you drive is doing more than carrying your weight. Number 12. Mimikaki. Professional ear cleaning parlors. Japan has built businesses around a service most countries barely notice: ear cleaning as a standalone wellness experience. These are not clinical visits or salon add-ons. They are dedicated, appointment-based sessions, often lasting half an hour, with trained practitioners and specialized tools. Clients recline, resting their head on the practitioner's lap, using bamboo picks known as mimikaki, along with soft cotton tips and fine brushes. The practitioner cleans the ear canal with meticulous care. Many sessions include a gentle scalp massage. The result is not just cleanliness, but a surprising sense of calm. The practice draws from domestic traditions, where ear cleaning is an intimate act shared within families. Parlors simply professionalize that ritual, transforming it into a structured service. What stands out is not the technique, but the framing. A universal, overlooked need becomes a refined category with its own standards, clientele, and cultural meaning. The ear was ordinary. The attention given to it is not. Number 11. Library book. Sanitizing machines, cleaning what everyone has touched. Public library books pass through dozens, sometimes hundreds of hands per year. They are read on trains, opened on kitchen tables, held during meals, borrowed by sick children, handled by every person in a community who has ever wanted to read that particular book. The pages carry traces of everything. Standard return procedure addresses none of this. You return the book. It goes back on the shelf. The next borrower picks it up. What they're receiving along with the story has historically been left unexamined. Japan examined it. Public libraries in Japan installed ultraviolet book sanitizing machines at return desks. A returned book is inserted into the machine. The pages are rapidly aerated while UV light is directed across the paper surfaces. In under 30 seconds, without heat that would warp pages, without moisture that would damage binding, without chemicals that would leave residue, the machine sanitizes the interior of the book. It then returns to circulation cleaner than it arrived. The device costs a manageable amount to install and almost nothing to operate. It takes 30 seconds per book. It addresses a hygiene reality present in every lending library on Earth. And yet Japan is among the very few places that looked at the returned library book and said, "This needs a machine." Most library systems have silently decided that what passengers don't think about can't bother them. Japan built a machine for the thing nobody was thinking about. And now, library patrons in those municipalities think about it quite comfortably because the machine is already handling it. Number 10. Ventilated indoor smoking rooms. Engineering around a conflict. The standard global policy framework for indoor smoking arrives at two positions. You may smoke here, or you may not smoke here. One group wins. One group loses. The conflict is resolved by choosing a side and accepting that the other side is dissatisfied. Japan, which has historically high smoking rates combined with a hospitality culture where exclusion can carry significant social weight, arrived at a third position. Designated indoor smoking rooms found in airports, office buildings, pachinko parlors, shopping centers, and major transit hubs are sealed, negatively pressured, independently ventilated environments. Negative pressure means that when a door opens, air moves into the room rather than out of it. Smoke cannot travel into adjacent corridors or waiting areas because the physics of the room prevent it. The filtration system manages the interior air independently of the building's general ventilation. What this produces is a situation where a smoker and a non-smoker can occupy the same building, even adjacent spaces, without either person's experience being compromised. The smoker has a designated, dignified space. The non-smoker is unaffected. The engineering absorbed the conflict rather than resolving it by elimination. Japan returns to this approach in many areas of civic life. The idea that two apparently opposing needs can be simultaneously satisfied if the system between them is designed well enough. A sealed room with the right airflow is all it took to stop making this a choice between winners and losers. Number 9. Vertical car parking towers. The garage that builds upward. In Tokyo, Osaka, and Yokohama, where urban land costs reach figures that make most financial comparisons seem absurd, the surface area required to park a car represents a significant portion of real estate value. Building outward to accommodate cars is expensive. Building underground is expensive. Japan built upward. Automated vertical parking towers work on a mechanical carousel principle. You drive onto a ground-level platform and exit the car. A system of elevators and rotating platforms carries the vehicle to an available bay, which may be located on any of 15 or more floors above street level. When you return, you insert your ticket at the ground-level terminal. The tower locates your specific vehicle, positions it on the elevator, and delivers it to ground level facing the exit direction. The entire retrieval typically takes under 2 minutes. The land footprint of a vertical parking tower accommodating 40 vehicles is approximately equivalent to 3 or 4 standard surface parking spaces. The tower goes up. The cars go into it. The street gets those 4 spaces back. Japan took a problem that most dense urban environments manage by building bigger structures that still sprawl horizontally and rotated it 90 degrees. The solution was always available. Fitting 40 cars into the space of 4 just required thinking about the space differently, and then building an elevator system that could handle something heavier than a person. Number 8. Heated shoe insoles. Warmth from the ground up. Cold feet are winter's quiet failure point. Jackets trap heat, hats seal it in, but the foot, pressed against frozen ground, is left to endure. Japan engineered the gap. Heated insoles, widely sold by brands like Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, fit invisibly inside standard shoes. Some use thin electric elements powered by small batteries. Others rely on iron oxidation, similar to disposable hand warmers, producing steady heat for hours. The insight is simple but precise. Heat loss often enters through the sole, not the air. Traditional winter clothing insulates the body but ignores this conductive pathway. By targeting the exact point of loss, the insole solves what coats cannot. It is not bulkier gear or heavier layering, just a thin intervention placed where cold actually begins. Warmth, applied correctly, becomes less about covering everything and more about fixing the one place that was quietly failing. Number 7. Coffee in edible waffle cones. The cup that disappears. Specialty coffee stalls across Japan serve espresso not in a ceramic cup, not in a paper cup with a cardboard sleeve, but in a small waffle cone. The interior of the cone is coated with a thin layer of chocolate before the coffee goes in, acting as both a flavor addition and a structural waterproof seal that gives the cone integrity for the duration of a standard espresso. You drink your coffee, you eat the cup. The result eliminates the disposable cup entirely. No paper, no lid, no sleeve, no recycling bin required. The vessel contributes its own flavor to the experience, then ceases to exist as waste. The sequence is objectively good. Hot espresso, followed immediately by warm chocolate-lined waffle, served by someone who thought carefully about what happens after the coffee is gone. The format works specifically for espresso-sized volumes, and Japan's response to this constraint is simply to serve more espresso sizes, which is its own separate improvement on coffee culture. The edible cone requires no new infrastructure, no supply chain overhaul, and no behavioral change from the customer beyond a second bite at the end. It sits in front of every coffee chain in the world as an available option that almost none of them have chosen to take. The cup was always the most wasteful part of a takeaway coffee. Japan removed it by making it delicious. Number 6. Squeezable ice cream pouches. The format that solved melting. The cone deteriorates. The cup requires a spoon. The bar drips from the moment you unwrap it and dictates how fast you eat through sheer temperature pressure. Every existing ice cream format shares one structural vulnerability. The experience degrades over time, and the rate of degradation is entirely outside your control. Gravity and heat govern the transaction. You are a passenger. Japan's squeezable ice cream pouch gives control back to the eater. A sealed, flexible tube of soft-serve style ice cream, pressed upward from the base like a tube of toothpaste, can be consumed at any pace. The sealed format means no dripping. The tube can be partially consumed, set down, and returned to. No spoon is required. No structural management of a cone is required. Nothing about the experience is contingent on how fast you move. Children understand the format in seconds. Adults encountering it for the first time tend to stop mid-squeeze, hold the tube, and undergo a brief, visible moment of recalibration. The kind that happens when something is obviously better than what replaced it, and you cannot immediately explain why you weren't given this earlier. The ice cream tastes the same. The experience of having ice cream is entirely corrected. Japan has a specific habit of noticing the part of something that almost works and fixing precisely that part. Nothing more, nothing less. Number 5. Fitting room face. Covers. The cloth that costs almost nothing. Japanese clothing stores keep a small fabric cover at the fitting room entrance. Before pulling a garment over your head to try it on, you place the cover over your face. Foundation, lipstick, mascara, and concealer remain where they were applied. The garment's collar, neckline, and fabric emerge unmarked. You tried the shirt on. The shirt doesn't know. This solves a problem every clothing retailer on Earth shares without discussing. Sample stock is consistently marked by cosmetic transfer during fitting, reducing the saleable condition of garments before they are purchased, at cost to the store, and at mild indignity to the next customer who receives a pre-marked item. The solution is a square of fabric, not a technology, not a system, a cloth on a hook at the door. Japan keeps it there. Shoppers use it because it is there. The problem does not happen. This is a category of Japanese improvement that doesn't announce itself with engineering or innovation. It announces itself with the quiet confidence of a store that thought about what the fitting room actually involves, made a small provision for the reality of that, and placed it where it would be used. The rest of the world's fitting rooms have mirrors, lighting, hooks, and the persistent mystery of how the collar got marked before anyone bought it. Number 4. Solo diner-friendly restaurants, eating alone as a first-class experience. In most countries, eating alone at a restaurant is socially tolerated in the way that queuing is socially tolerated. Everyone agrees to pretend it isn't slightly awkward. Tables are designed for 2 or 4. The single occupant at a full-size table generates ambient social noise. Servers ask if someone is joining you. The architecture of the restaurant quietly communicates that the minimum socially complete dining unit is 2 people. Japan engineered around this. Ichiran Ramen, the most internationally recognized example, places every diner in an individual wooden booth separated from neighbors by dividers on both sides. A bamboo screen separates the diner from the kitchen. You complete a paper form specifying your broth preferences, noodle firmness, richness level, and spice. The screen rises. Your bowl appears. You eat entirely alone, in a space specifically designed for that, with no ambient awareness that solo dining is anything other than the baseline intended experience. Beyond Ichiran, Japan has a complete ecosystem of counter-format restaurants, single-seat noodle bars, and establishments where the booth is the table, and the individual is the unit the entire floor plan was designed around. This is simultaneously a design decision and a cultural statement. A person eating alone is not an incomplete group. They are a complete person having a meal, and they deserve the same quality of experience as anyone else. The booth makes the argument structurally. Number 3. Cane that converts into a portable seat. Mobility aid done properly. Japan has the oldest population by median age of any country on Earth. The product design ecosystem that has developed around this reality has had decades and genuine commercial pressure to become sophisticated. The result is mobility and accessibility products that are, by consistent margin, better designed than equivalents produced anywhere else. The seat cane is the clearest example. In a single motion requiring no tools and no particular dexterity, the cane converts from a standard walking support into a stable, freestanding seat. It reverses with equal simplicity. It is engineered to be light enough for full-day carry without arm fatigue, stable enough to sit on without risk of tipping, and this is the criterion most mobility aid design fails at, visually unobtrusive enough that users actually carry it in public rather than leaving it at home out of self-consciousness. That last quality is the breakthrough. A mobility aid left at home because the user finds it stigmatizing has a 0% effectiveness rate. Japan's product designers built the seat cane to function as a tool and look like an accessory. The result is a product people carry willingly. An older person standing in a queue for 20 minutes, waiting on a train platform, or pausing mid-walk without a bench nearby, is experiencing a specific, solvable physical problem. The seat cane removes it. Japan didn't just design the object. It designed the object the way it needed to be designed for the object to actually be used. Number 2. Self-sealing. Jam jar lids. The jar that tells you it's done. The standard jam jar lid has a problem so universally accepted, it no longer reads as a problem to most people. It doesn't reliably create an airtight seal on the second close. Over-tighten it, and you cannot open it next time. Under-tighten it, and the jam dries around the rim. Every reclosure is approximate. The user provides the effort and receives no confirmation that it worked. Japanese food packaging, particularly from brands like Aohata, uses lid designs with a center depress indicator built into the seal. When the jar is properly vacuum sealed, the center of the lid is concave, slightly pushed down by the internal vacuum. When you open the jar and reseal it correctly, the vacuum restores and the center depresses again. You do not need to guess whether the jar is sealed. The lid tells you. A concave center means sealed. A flat or raised center means not sealed. Try again. This is the difference between a product you use and a product you have to think about using. Japan applies this logic consistently across food packaging categories. Soy sauce caps that indicate fill level, condiment bottles with pour spouts that reseal cleanly, resealable bags where the seal makes an audible click on closure. Every container that holds food should communicate its own state. You close the lid. It tells you it's closed. That is, it turns out, not too much to ask. Number 1. Coin lockers. The solution to the bag problem at every train station in Japan. Every major train station in Japan, and most minor ones, has banks of coin-operated lockers available to any member of the public at any time for a flat daily rate typically between 300 and 700 yen. You are traveling between cities, you have luggage, you want to explore without dragging it through temple grounds. You find a locker, insert your bag, insert your coins, lock it, pocket the key, or receive a retrieval code, and walk away unencumbered. At the end of the day, you return, retrieve the bag, and continue to your next destination. This requires no app, no advance booking, no membership, no hotel check-in as a prerequisite, no staff interaction. The lockers are sized from small, a day bag, to large enough to accommodate full-size luggage. They exist at airports, shopping centers, tourist attractions, and parks. The network is so comprehensive that experienced travelers to Japan plan itineraries around it, forwarding large luggage between hotels via delivery services and using station lockers for the day bags they carry city to city. Japan decided that a person in transit carrying objects should not be required to carry those objects at every moment of the transit. The locker is the infrastructure answer to that decision. It is simple, cheap, available, and requires no assistance. In most other countries, the traveler with a bag they don't want to carry has limited options and must negotiate all of them in advance. In Japan, the answer is around the corner from wherever you're standing. It costs a few coins, and it is waiting for your bag right now. From the car seat that monitors you sleeping before you know you're tired, to the locker waiting patiently at the station for whatever you don't want to carry. These 14 ideas share one underlying quality. They were all made by someone who looked at a specific moment in a day and refused to accept that the discomfort in that moment was unavoidable. The fitting room cloth. The jar that tells you it's sealed. The booth that makes eating alone feel intentional rather than apologetic. None of these required a revolution. They required attention, paid to things that most industries decided weren't worth paying attention to. If one of these made you think differently about something you encountered this week, leave it in the comments, subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.